Hey guys, welcome back to another, I guess, update video. Um, I know these videos can be a bit boring and like longer, but um, I really want to kind of keep you guys in the loop with what I'm doing, and these videos are just how I do it. You're looking at Merlot's tank right now, and kind of a update on her. She's doing great. She actually shed probably 3-4 days ago. Yeah, 4 or 5 days ago, and she hadn't eaten anything because not most of the time snakes will stop eating right before a shed. It can be a little bit stressful and irritating for them to shed, so they'll stop eating. And she did, which wasn't no big deal. It didn't scare me or anything. Snakes can go quite a while without eating. But I want to show you. I'll have to turn the light on my phone on. Having the light off like this keeps the glare off the tanks at a minimum. Oh, it ripped a little bit. But check this out. This is, my hand. Full shed. This right here is her little tail. Well, big tail. I'm not sure. I think this right here is her head. Yeah, this right here was where her head shed at. She had shed her eye caps and head and stuff kind of before anything really, or maybe. No, I think that there's one of her eye caps right there. The other one's probably, it might have come up, or that might be it right there. Anyway, she shed her whole entire body, which the previous owner, my good friend Rodney, told me she'll make one big shed, and she did. But whenever I got it out of the tank, it was wadded up, and in the process of trying to unwad it, it kind of ripped a little bit. But look at that. Just that's a big shed. And it's thick. Boa sheds are very, very thick. I mean, listen to that. That is very thick shed. But she is in her little hide area. Little treat for you guys. And this is she's bluffing. You watch this be the moment that I get absolutely smoked. But it'll be on YouTube if it does. Or if it is. I didn't want to overly stress her with a large meal right after she shed. So what would be considered a massive meal for some snakes, I gave her a large rat, frozen, and she seems to have eaten it because it's not in the tank anymore. It's one thing that I've noticed with her. Now, I don't let them spoil, but if you put them in the cold side, or like in their water, it can last for a couple days pretty easy. But go ahead and Get this lid up for you. You have to tape it down because there's nothing holding it. But getting ready to show you. You can kind of see her in there. Get this lifted up. And this is the thing that she's not too crazy about. There's that girl. You know, check this out. Listen. Oh, she's gonna be a little sweetheart. Come on, you're not going. There it is. Well, she's not going to full on. Look at the baby. Look at her tail. Guys, oh, she peed a little bit. Look at that beautiful tail. Hey, baby. Guys, I'm telling you. Hey, sweetheart. Hey, baby. Talk to them like they're babies. Talk to them like you love them. Hey, baby. Ain't that real good girl? Yeah, she's a sweetheart. She just doesn't like leaving her really warm spot. Alright, sweetheart, I'll cover you back up. There you go. There she goes. Oh, she needs to scoot yourself around a little bit. Dadgummit. Girl. Scoot your butt. Scoot your butt. Scoot your butt. You're fine, just scoot your butt a little bit. Here, watch out. Watch out. You're good. You're good. I just needed you to scoot just a little bit. Just a little bit. You're fine. You're fine. There you go. There it is. She made a liar out of me. If I can get this onto a phone, or not a phone, but like my computer, and I'll add in the video clip where she doesn't like to leave her warm. Now, once you get her out, like, you'll just scoop her up, kind of just call her bluff, and just fetch her out. She'll wrap up around you, and you got her for as long as you want her. Absolutely amazing, beautiful snake, as you've seen. Guyana redtail boa. She was a little over 6.5 feet long. I just call her 7 foot because, you know, she was a little bit curled up whenever I measured her, and she was just over 6.5. And just a couple curls, just a couple little swift curls can hide quite a bit. So she's probably closer to 7 foot. I mean, her shed is massive. It's like almost 2 pieces that are they're over 3 foot long each, and then her tail is about a 8-inch stub. So she's close. She's pushing 7 foot. So I just go ahead and say she's 7 foot. And they tend to max out around like 8, 9 for females, and like 6 or 7 for males. And I've also heard she's 5. I don't know if I talked about that in the first video where I showed her, but she's 5. And apparently around 7 or so years old, they have another growth spurt. I've seen that on quite a few forums talking about boas and stuff. So she'll probably, which, I mean, I think they steadily grow, because whenever they shed, they're pretty much getting bigger. But she should hit a pretty good growth spurt here in the next year or so. But that's not even, like, I had to show her off. That's my prized possession right there. But my next prized possession would be Chunk, which another redtail. I just have a thing for red tails, I guess. Chunk is in the 125 still yet, and she's not really up. She's moving. I'm talking about her. It's a little grainy, but she's right there. That's Chunk. It's grainy because it's a bunch of red light. Anyway, a lot of people probably seen my video where I first bought Chunk and was like, geez, that idiot doesn't have a clue what he's doing. He's not going to be able to keep it. It's going to get too big. And I mean, in a lot of cases, that is sadly the truth. They don't know what they're getting into. They see a little bitty 2-inch long, super cute fish, and they're like, oh, I want that. And then within a year, it's 16, 18 inches long, and they get scared. And they're like, oh, I got to get rid of this thing. Well, like I've said before, any animal that is just abnormally large, they have a spot where they plateau. Like, she grew from 2 inches to pretty much a foot long in just a few months. Just a short, like 3 or 4 or 5 months. But she, and I mean, I fed her hickory massivore delights, and that was like the top. They said that it makes the water stink a little bit, which I never noticed it, but that's like the best food that I've read that you could give them, and that's what she ate or eats. Now she's more onto, I give her like jumbo shrimp. She'll eat 2 or 3 jumbo shrimps and be good for a while. You're not supposed to feed a redtail catfish every day. They can get obese problems, and there's quite a few actual, like the same thing with boas. You're not supposed to feed them a whole lot very, very frequently. Now, you feed them a little bit more frequently than like a ball python, but there's a huge size difference. You can feed boas too much and they will grow. They will respond to the food well. But it's actually unhealthy for them, and they will grow too fast. And ultimately, you're taking quite a bit of time off their life. A boa can live 20 plus years, probably 30 plus years. But if you gut load it, as the term in the hobbies, like if you gut load a fish, you're feeding it tons of good food, fatten it up so that you can feed it to something else. Well, that's really not good for boas. If anything, slow food is better for them. And kind of the same thing goes for redtails. Like anything that gets very, very, very large, like sturgeon can live, I'm thinking like 80 years or more. But a sturgeon gets 10 foot long. Well, they probably thought, man, I don't know what I'm getting into. That fish is going to be huge. There's people saying, oh, they'll get 6 or 8 feet long. 6 foot long is a huge stretch. 8 foot long is insane. Like in captivity, they usually get around 4.5. 3.5 to 4.5 feet long. Pretty much where they stop at. Like there are some, what do they call it? Exceptions to the rule. But like for the most part, 4 foot, 4.5 is tops. But today, actually just about 20-30 minutes ago, I ordered what would be considered for her a very, very, very large pool. And Loki's in there somewhere too, but Buddy, he just hides. Like, Buddy hides all over. He It's hardly ever see him. But he sits on top of the pond. I actually have a pond filter in that tank for filtration. And a sterilizer. Anyway, it is a 9.8, so we're just going to call it 10 foot by like 6.8, let's call it 7 foot. A 10 by 7 by like 26 inch deep pool. The rectangled pools, what everybody buys for like their larger fish. SC Fishkeeping has fish in it, or fish in those. Quite a few, like Joey makes his own, but he puts them in stuff relative to that size. 10 foot is what they say that they need. And if somewhere down the line she does seem to get too big for it, which will be for a long ways down the line, if she gets too big for it, then there's like a 13 or a 15 foot step up. I didn't want to, but they're smaller ones. There's like a 6 foot by like 5 foot or something like that, like 5.5 by or like a 6.5 by 5.5. And then it was like $50 cheaper ish. But I figured, no, I would rather go and buy one of the biggest that she could probably live in for good versus buy the smaller one and then let her grow into that and then need a bigger one and then have to buy another one, which is the size of the one that I got now. And that way, instead of buying 2, possibly 3, spending like $600, because the small one is like $100. The next step up without a filter is like 120, 150-ish. And then the next step up from that, which is like the 14 foot by like 8 foot or bigger, it jumps way up to like 260, almost $300. With the filter, it is like $300. Well, I bought the 10 foot by 7 foot without the filter because it just sends you like a 330 gallon per hour pool pump. I had one, I ran it on the 125, but 330 gallon per hour on a 125 fish tank, that's a good amount of filtration. It literally, that's a lot of filtration, like, but you're supposed to filter like 5 times per hour. I think it's either 5 times an hour or 5 times a day. It's been a minute since I've had to do a bunch of filtration research. The more that you can filter, the better. So, doing the filter, the DIY filter, like Joey and Zach from SC Fishkeeping, where you take like the big brute trash can and you put a pump in the water and it pumps up and it runs down through the trash can and then pumps it, or it runs out of the trash can back into the pond. Well, that's what I'm doing. And instead of buying like the one that SC Fishkeeping recommended was a 4,000 liter per hour, which is like 1,085 gallons an hour, or like 1,060 something gallons an hour. I bought I think the brand is Deco Pro. I almost bought an 1,100 gallon an hour one, but then for just like $10 more, I got like an extra 600 gallon per hour pump rate, and it can pump like 26 feet straight up. This one will only pump maybe 26 inches, or maybe 3 or 4 feet to reach the top of the trash can to run down. But I ordered like 1.25-inch bulkheads because the smaller 1,100 gallon per hour pump it had 1-inch tubing as its biggest possible like connection, but this Deco Pro can run 1.25 inch, which is in flow rate quite a bit more. So I ordered the 1.25 inch bulkheads, the pump, the pull, and all in all, it was like $170 with the free Prime trial deal. Everybody does that and then cancels the Prime subscription. And then later on, you can renew that Prime subscription if you cancel it again. So it's kind of like a loophole. It was going to cost me right at like $190. Excuse me. But with the Prime, you got free shipping on the big stuff like the pool, which helped out a ton. So I'm really like $160, $170 in. I still yet have to buy the 1.25 inch tubing, but I'll just go to Lowe's or somewhere and get that. I might actually have some 1.25 inch black tubing. That might be 1.5 inch though. Anyway, go ahead. I gotta order the tubing that runs into the top of the tank or into the top of the filter trash can, and then you just get some milk crates. And you fill the milk crates up with like filter media, and then on top of that you put like polyfill, which is pretty much just polyester filling that you put in pillows. And there you go, a filtration that'll filter a pond for, let's see, $55 for the Deco Pro pump. The trash can's probably going to be $30. And then like all the filtration, like the filter media and the polyfill, probably under $125. The pump that Zach used, he said was like $55, but whenever I looked up the same exact one, it was like $75 or $78, something like that. Chunk and Loki are about to be completely set up. I got for heating, there is stuff. I don't know if you've seen, if you go back if you want to see it, underneath the merlot, whenever I moved the lid, where she had all of her like cocoa chips and I think they call it like forest floor or something like that, where she had it scooted out of the way. Underneath her was like a strip looking stuff. That's heat tape. My plan is they sell heat tape, but it's super cheap. It's way cheaper than even like the stick under the bottom of the like glass tank, like Reptile Pro heater pads. It's way cheaper than that. Like I bought a 2-foot. It goes from right there all the way over to right there. So half of her tank is heated, half of it's not heated. I think I spent like $15 on that 2-foot chunk. And I even had them, I paid extra to have them put it together more professionally at the expo than what I would, than doing it at the house. There's actually a piece of it right here because I got a little bit too long of a piece. It's right here. They put a connection on that side, and it runs power through these little strips, and it heats up. Well, I can either take that and wrap it around the trash can and heat up the smaller amount of water being pumped into the pond, or buy like a 6-foot piece of it, 6 foot by 2 foot, because the tank or the pond is like 26 inches tall, and run a 6-foot strip all along the side of the tank or the side of the pond. So instead of like a heat pad or like a heat element, which is usually about 4 inches wide by maybe a foot tall, it's got a whole side of the tank, or the side of the pond. I keep wanting to call it a tank. The whole side of the pool will be heated, and they heat up you can run one of these. This is actually kind of a more expensive one, I think. It's a Fluke 62 Max. I don't know what it goes up to, but my dad brought this to me, and it's a little heat gun, little thermometer. It heats up to, like, what you see in the glass was 79. It heats up to about 98 degrees, just plugged straight into the wall. And if I put a thermostat on that, I could monitor it over a couple days and see where it maxes out at with 1,100 gallons of water. I might need to turn it up, and I might need to get another sheet and put it on the other side. Or find out how much it is per sheet and buy like 25 foot of it. I don't know if there's like a limit for how much power it takes. Maybe like the smaller the piece, the hotter it gets, because whenever you don't buy it with a thermostat, it's just running 120 volts through that, and it just gets to a certain temperature. And I might have got just perfectly lucky and had the perfect right amount to keep her hot spot around 100 degrees. But that is my goal, or my idea. Put some insulation under it. Maybe even put a couple strips of the heat tape under it. And just run it that way and try to heat it externally versus internally with one of those like glass heaters or something like that. I also thought about like a pond de-icer, which is a little floaty bob that you plug in and it heats up and it keeps your pond from freezing so that like the gases and stuff can leave. But I think that might be too much of like a localized heat. I don't know. But sorry this video is half an hour long. Hopefully talking has like kept you guys like intrigued enough and like listening. So that will open up the 125. I might put her in there. It would be a better option. Get her out of the smaller 75. Now, obviously, you've seen she just curls up right there. She takes up a quarter of this tank. But whenever she wants to stretch her legs, she has to kind of go all the way across and then loop, and then her head meets right about there. So, like, she can't really stretch herself completely out, but that's not usually what she does anyway. But I feel like I would prefer having her to have around 4 feet in the middle. So you've got like a foot of space for the water dish, and then a good chunk of play space, and then the hide. So I might go ahead and do that. I don't know yet. I could put her in the 125 and then put Sylvester, which he's over there in the tank that whenever I picked him up, the tank was given to me. Could put him in here. I don't know. He's not quite big enough to need a tank this big, but he's getting to where he's a little bit bigger, a little bit too big for the tank that he's in now. So I might do a swap. I don't know yet. I guess it just all depends on. I mean, we do have Rodney, the retic. We have a het orange ghost stripe reticulated python. He's just a baby right now. He's like 9 months old. I don't know, but this video is mainly just on an update. For everybody that thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to get chunk out, I'm not going to have enough funds, or not going to have space. She will go downstairs. I'm going to start clearing out, flattening out a spot, probably tomorrow evening sometime. That way, as soon as the pond gets here, I can set it up and start getting it ready. It'll be here in like 5 or 6 days. Excuse me. Sometimes the stuff gets here a little earlier. One of the items even shipped, and I don't remember didn't check which one it was, but one of them had already shipped. But Chunk and Loki are about to have a fish mansion, and she'll eventually grow into it. I would honestly say the thing that's got me the most kind of perplexed or worried is the heating deal, because obviously that's everything for fish, especially like Amazon fish that need to be like 70 plus degrees. But with the basement staying at like 60 to 65 degrees, it shouldn't be too hard to heat it up an extra 10 degrees. That's my hopes. Like, usually water gets cold by evaporation or wind going over it. Kind of evaporates the water and it causes it to cool off. So being downstairs, no wind, we'll see. I mean, shoot, I've even got like heat lamps for days that I could hang over top of the water. I'm just trying to, like, I want the best for them, obviously, but if I could save cash and still do the same thing, that is the definition of a DIY fish keeper. So hopefully you've stuck around, and if you've stuck around for this long, thank you so much. I know you've just been kind of staring at the tank or litter box, but it's coming along. Now, as far as like the previous video, I do not have the alligator anymore. I really wanted to keep it, but I really, like I said, I just picked it up for a buddy. He came and got it. We went out and picked up 2 more, about 3 foot long, well, 2.5 feet long. There's not really been anything happen recently with that. There's not been an expo yet. There's an expo coming up, but it's 2.5 hours away from me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to it. But coming up pretty soon, there are going to be some expos in my neighborhood, like my town, or at least close to my town. So, again, stay tuned. I just kind of wanted to update you guys on the progress and kind of put the people that thought that I couldn't take care of my animals or that I didn't know what I was getting into. I did. I've wanted a redtail catfish ever since I was like 10 years old. And I mean, I've done tons of research on them. I've watched videos on them for years and years and years. So this is a huge deal. I'm going to do everything I possibly can. I could have spent that $200 on myself, my motorcycle, parts, I mean, a gun. I could have done all kinds of stuff with that. But I want to do what's best for my animals. And she is getting pretty good size. She's about 16 inches now, if I had to guess. Around about. She's slowed down. She's hit her spot where she starts to slow down. Now, she might just naturally, instead of putting on the weight and like packing it up, once she's in a big area, she might go ahead and release that and like really start to focus on growing bigger. They do that. They can either store it or use it. Same thing with snakes. They can store that energy. They can store the food up for fat if they think it's getting ready to be a bad time. So she might hit a growth spurt whenever I put her in there. But big tank or big pool on the way for Chunk and Loki. Hopefully she will be going over to the 125. I might, like I said, go ahead and put Sylvester in here. But contrary to popular belief, bigger is not always better for snakes. Pythons do not like to be in a gigantic area. It kind of stresses them out. So he might just need to get like a little bit of a bigger tank. And then he'll eventually be probably close to 5 feet long, maybe. then he would work out really good in here. But thank you guys for watching, and as I am started talking, I've noticed my voice has also headed out. Don't know why. I don't even feel sick. But thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.